Hello everyone and welcome to Caroline's Craft Tree. Today I would like to show you how I put the beads on the edge of my papers. I recently did a journal with this on it and I had a number of people ask me how I did it. And I actually thought I had already done a video of it, but I didn't. So I am going to show you how I do it. So I'm just going to do a little bit onto a piece of cardboard because it takes a while to do a whole page. So I've got my little pokey thing that I use. It is just a cork with a sewing needle. That way I keep my holes nice and small. I've got my little Stampin' Up! Paper piercing pad thing. You can just put them freehand in there, or I used to use a little cardboard template that I made. I just put it on the edge of my paper and punch the holes. So let's just line that up, and I'm just going to poke my holes down. This process is fairly quick, especially with this on there. Okay, so really all that it is a blanket stitch with a bead added. So to start, I'm going to go in my first hole, and I am using a beading needle because I am using seed beads. So I go through my first hole and I tie a knot. I know this isn't the proper way to start a blanket stitch, but it works for this. Now when I'm all done, I will glue that knot down. So with the blanket stitch, once I get that done, I'm going to go from the back. Oops, hold on. I'm going to add a bead first. Let's dump a couple beads onto here. Okay, so I'm going to pick up a bead, and then I'm going to go from the back to the front. I'm not going to pull that stitch really tight. Hopefully you can see I have the bead. So now I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go through the loop and pull. Now at this point here, hopefully it focuses. I want to make sure that my thread is on this side of my bead. So when I pull it tight, we've got my first stitch here where I tied the knot, my second stitch is here, and the bead is in between. So now I'll put on another bead, go from the back to the front. Before I get that pulled really tight, I'm just going to go underneath that stitch. And then again, I want to make sure that my thread is on this side of my bead. There is lots of videos out there about doing the blanket stitch. And as they say, all that you're doing is adding a bead to the little flat spot. Add another bead, back to the front, and then slip my needle through and pull it tight. Now I'm going to keep doing this all the way along my page or card, tag, anything like that that I'm doing. It actually does go fairly quickly once you get going. No reason why you couldn't use bigger beads or whatever. So if you happen to get your thread on the wrong side of the bead, then your bead will end up going to the back of your work. And if that happens, you just gotta kind of move around and get your bead on the right side. And of course, you know what happened? I happened to grab my thread when I put it through. So I will have to pretty much rethread my needle, pull it out, and that'll take too long because it's hard threading a beading needle. So we're going to just leave that little mess there. Going to go down, come up from the back, and put another one there. Always from the back to the front. So let's just put a couple more on, and then I'll show you how I end the whole thing. So again, seed bead, back to the front. Needle, go to the right side of the bead. In my case, if you're left-handed, this might be something, it would probably be totally different for you. Okay, this will be the last bead, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do, and of course get a big knot in the thread. Okay, so let's pretend that that's the end of what I want to do. So now what I do is I try to keep my thumbnail on my thread, like just like here, about here, just so then I can keep it a little bit tight while I'm tying my knot. And all that I do is I do half hitches. I'll go in my last stitch, go through, put my thread through the loop, and I'll give it a little tug. And that puts on a half hitch, and I'll do about 3 of those. Again, go through the last stitch, bring up so it's a loop, pull it tight. Like I say, I usually do about 3, seems to hold it good. And then I'll leave the ends. A lot of times I will just leave the ends permanently, just for an extra little bit of dimension on what I'm doing. But I will always put just a little tiny dab of glue. And I actually use this for that. It's the Stampin' Up! Glue, the fine tip glue pen. And that's the one reason I use it, is because it's got such a fine tip. Probably when I've used up all this glue, I'll probably just put something else in it. But I'll just put the littlest dab of glue on there. Probably can't even see it. I'll also do it at the very beginning. I'll just put a little dab of glue, and that just secures the knot. So that is how I do this. It gives a wonderful effect to the page. It looks so nice when it's in the end of a journal. I got a journal here I'm working on. I'll just show you what it'll look like on the edge of the page. So then when you have it and you see the edge of the journal, you'll see the beads, and it looks so nice. It just gives so much dimension to a book, and just beautiful decoration to it. So that is how I do that. It's just a blanket stitch with a bead added along the little flat end on the edge of your paper. So I hope you'll try it and give it a go, and I would love to see what you make with this. We'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.